higher education here for many years, most of the history was dominated by Kuwait University, large public institution. And relatively few years ago, they decided to add options of private universities that would offer different kinds of programs. But the approach to education here has generally been one of trying to, in effect, aim at the job market. And that very often means you're aiming at what you think the job market is right now. So you have largely a focus on professional education, other things as well, but for the most part it's a kind of a pipeline designed for a job. And if you think about the fact that most of the people, most Kuwaitis in particular, are employed by the government in one way or another, so that they've been aiming to try and fill those jobs with highly qualified people. They found that they couldn't satisfy the demand locally, and so they're sending students abroad, largely to the US, but some to various places in Europe, and they added private universities as an option. AUK is the only, the one outside the pattern, because we have a different approach to education, which is this so-called liberal arts. And part of what that means is we're trying to give students breadth as well as depth. That is, they have a specialization in a field. It might be communications and media, for example, or it might be engineering. But they also have other kinds of courses. So everybody takes this broad section of courses. And part of what you're trying to do with that approach is you're educating people. There's a phrase that I would use sometimes of, we're trying to prepare people for their first job, their last job, and every job in between. Because the world in which we live now is a world of change. And I think to some degree, the approach of many institutions of higher education is in effect a short-sighted one. That is, and I don't mean that negatively, just necessarily they're looking at a shorter time frame and imagine that other things will take care of themselves, and that doesn't always work. And so, for example, engineers, if you look at people who are professional engineers, most engineers stop functioning as just engineers very early in their careers. They move into something else. They might be in sales, they might be in marketing, they might be in management, but they're not, strictly speaking, engineers doing engineering anymore. So we're preparing people for a world of change, and also trying to prepare them to be better citizens, and it's a preparation for life.